This week on the Four Rivers Ag Report, can we keep Big Muddy from turning into Old Rocky Top? And what's so special about specialty crops? Also, we have a music video where the horse riding move is almost appropriate. That and more on the Four Rivers Ag Report. Welcome to the Four Rivers Ag Report. I'm Fred Peralta. I remember thinking this summer that we may not know the true cost of the drought for several years to come. Now we're seeing that Old Man River might not be rolling, but hobbling along. The states along the Missouri have now sent a letter to the president in response to the letter that the Mississippi states sent last week. The Missouri Basin states are advocating that they may need the water reserve to protect them from the drought issues in the upper Missouri Valley. What a mess. Well, I searched around to find someone who could put these issues into perspective, and luckily we had someone right here in Illinois. I was able to talk to Rodney Weinzierl of the Illinois Corn Association about what to do with the Mississippi.
And with me now is Rodney Weinzierl. He's the Executive Director of the Illinois Corn Association, and he also serves on the Waterway Commission. And Ron, Illinois farmers have a legitimate concern with the river, don't they?
That's right. A number of issues going on the Illinois River, the upper Mississippi River, and especially the stretch of river that runs from St. Louis down to Cairo, Illinois.
Okay, for those of my viewers who haven't been following the situation, what has happened with the Mississippi?
Well, essentially what's going on is the drought of 2012 that has affected especially us here in Illinois and east of the Mississippi has continued to move into the western plains, so it's now west of the Mississippi, and it's just purely a lack of water. And obviously, as we have not had enough rainfall, that's not only affected our crops and our harvest this past season, but it's also beginning to affect how we move commodities, corn, soybeans, fertilizer, petroleum, on our major waterway infrastructure that pretty much runs throughout the heart of the United States.
And the Mississippi is really vital for the grain cropping, isn't it?
That's right. A majority of our corn exports, our soybean exports, our fertilizer movements up out of the Gulf into the central and northern U.S., a majority of those movements, that tonnage, actually happens on the river because transporting commodities by water is much more efficient than either trucks or rail, and it also moves that tonnage off the roads and rail, allowing other products to move more freely.
Is it just a water level problem, or is there a problem with the Mississippi itself between St. Louis and Alton?
Well, because the water level is dropping both from Mother Nature, but also the Corps of Engineers has the ability to regulate the release of water out of 6 very large reservoirs that stretch from the Dakotas on the south end all the way up into Montana. They are artificially beginning to contract the amount of water they are releasing, and the Missouri River is actually a majority of the water that flows past St. Louis. Missouri runs into the Mississippi River just north of St. Louis, and that actually becomes over half, probably nearly 60–70% of the volume of water that then runs from St. Louis down to Cairo, Illinois, where the Mississippi intersects with the Ohio River. And as that water drops, there are rock structures and the bed of the Mississippi that begin to create challenges for commercial navigation on that stretch of the Mississippi River.
Okay, now I know that politically several states along the Mississippi, Arkansas, Illinois, Missouri, have petitioned the federal government to tell the Army Corps of Engineers to open up the floodgates, correct?
Well, not necessarily open up. What the states are asking the Army Corps of Engineers to do is to increase the flow of water so that commercial navigation can continue to move until some of these rock structures that are located at Thebes, Illinois, and at Grand Tower, Illinois, can be blasted out so that they are not a danger or a hazard for commercial navigation. So we're asking for between 1 and 2% of the reservoir capacity to be pulsed into the river in a graduated manner, so that the water level between St. Louis and Cairo can maintain commercial navigation until the rocks are out, and then at that time go ahead and draw down the level of release from the Missouri River. So they buy us another 60, 75 days is what we're asking for.
And I was reading just yesterday that several states along the Missouri, those corn growers and other farmers are concerned about the continued drought that they're facing and concerned about the water available to them for farming. Is that correct?
Well, I think there is some ag interest, especially in the upper basin of the Missouri River, again, the Dakotas and Montana, but it's also a lot of influence around tourism up in there. The water's used for within conservation efforts and just holding the water. There's also a lot of industry along the Missouri River and rural communities that rely on water for the water source. And one of the things that's beginning to happen is the water is so low, the release is so low, that they're beginning to run out of water because their pipes that are laid in the water are breaking suction. They're not deep enough into the river.
Wow.
And there's a lot of concern. So we hope that the Corps recognizes that, you know, there are impacts not only to commercial navigation but all the way up the Missouri River, and that they don't dial down the release too low and create havoc throughout the entire Midwest.
So in this case, all politics are really local.
That's exactly right. You know, those who have it right now don't want to release it. But again, you know, what we're asking for is 1 or 2% of that volume of water to just buy us the 60 to 90 days so that the Army Corps of Engineers can get the rocks out, allow commercial navigation to go as long as it can once those rocks are out, and then we'll just have to live with what's left. What we really need is rain throughout the Missouri River and the upper Mississippi River Basin.
We're not out of the drought yet, are we?
We're not close. In fact, if you talk to producers in northern Illinois or western Illinois or get into Iowa and Nebraska, they are very much in the same situation we were a year ago, where they have very little subsoil moisture and are not well positioned to grow a crop in 2013.
So speaking of the 2013 crop, what are you hearing about local producers? What are they planning on doing? With corn prices so high, we've had a lot of corn on corn on corn. Do you continue to see that sort of muscling of acreage into corn crop or not?
Yeah, there's a lot of regional differences within even the state of Illinois. You know, in some parts of the state, in particular, probably southern Illinois, you're going to see you've seen an increase in wheat planting that went onto corn ground. Some of that was to take advantage of the fertilizer nutrient value that was there that the severely reduced crop didn't use. So a real advantage of trying to take of efficiency there, because obviously that ground is going from corn into wheat. That probably will affect some soybean acreage down there, because that ground normally would have been soybeans, but it could come back as double crop beans later in the summer, depending on how the summer shapes up. You get into central Illinois, and there's been a lot of challenges with corn on corn. And so in that part of the state, we believe you might not see quite as much corn on corn as what we've seen.
That's what I'm hearing from my farmers, yes.
Some of our survey work kind of indicates that. But you get into northern Illinois, and they had a pretty good year on corn again. So I don't really think there'll be a big pattern change on acreage. So you know, I'm kind of looking for a number that's probably similar to last year. If I talk to all our members right here in central Illinois, then, you know, I kind of have a tendency to think, well, maybe there's not going to be quite as many acres. But then you look at what Informa and others are coming out with numbers, and they're saying even bigger numbers. Obviously, those bigger, they're talking to producers that haven't run into the challenges that we've had, in central Illinois, south central Illinois, like we're hearing. There is another issue, and it goes back to the water issue on this, is right now there is not enough fertilizer in position for the spring planting season. And if the river stops, then it will be extremely challenging to get enough plant nutrients, fertilizer in place before planting season. And that could have a huge impact on what the crop looks like, the expectation of the crop, and especially the farther you go upriver, the northern parts of the river basin will be more extremely challenged than probably us in central Illinois or even down in southern Illinois, because we have access still to the Ohio River. Well, to give you an idea of magnitude, and the fertilizer really needs to be in position by about March 1. Okay, so that's kind of the timeline. If the river is severely restricted or even shuts down, that is the equivalent just for a couple months, say December, January, February. That's the equivalent of over 10,000 barges and between 700,000 and 800,000 trucks. There is not enough rail cars, there is not enough trucks to take up what will not be able to be moved by water. So you could see spot shortages of fertilizer, especially as you go farther north and to the west, because there's just not the capacity to move it. The waterway infrastructure, and a lot of people don't realize this because we don't hear about barge car accidents because they don't happen. Okay? People are because you don't see water.
You don't see it. You don't hear it. Yeah.
There's no concept for how much tonnage moves. But just within a couple months, you're talking hundreds and hundreds of thousands of trucks would be needed, and that capacity does not exist.
Well, Rodney Wenzel, thank you so much. This has been really informative, and I will be checking back with you guys as the year progresses. Thank you very much.
So, are we going to get the precipitation that we still need, and are we going to have to shovel it? We asked Cameron Craig to look way forward at this upcoming winter in Under the Four Rivers Skies.
As we approach the start of the winter of 2012-2013, the talk of the town is, what is this winter's outlook? Long-term forecasting for meteorologists is a tricky game because so many variables can change without prior notice. If you remember a year ago, I gave the winter outlook for 2011-2012, stating that it would be cold and snowy due to La Niña. The outlook began to unfold nicely, but by the beginning of January, warmer conditions started to set in for the rest of the winter. What took meteorologists by surprise was another long-term forecast situation called the Arctic Oscillation, keeping Arctic air bottled up across much of the North American continent. Although La Niña was relatively strong, the Arctic Oscillation gave us the dry, warm winter last year. Let's go back to the winter of 2010-2011, when we had nearly 24 inches of snow and cold conditions. La Niña was responsible for that winter's scenario. With the pattern of La Niña set in 2010-2011, it was easy for meteorologists to assume that the winter of 2011-2012 would be similar. Before getting to our winter outlook this winter, let's look at the 30-year winter scenario, December through March, to set the stage. December's 30-year average temperature is 32.2 degrees, with an average total precipitation of 2.68 inches and snowfall of 4.2 inches. January's average temperature is 28.6 degrees, with a precipitation total of 2.44 inches and 6.2 inches of snowfall. February's average temperature holds in at 31.6 degrees, with 2.06 inches of precipitation and 4.3 inches of snowfall. Finally, March's average temperature is 42.2 degrees with 3.49 inches of precipitation and 3.0 inches of snowfall. The total 30-year snowfall for our winters measures at 17.7 inches. The temperature outlook for this December is slightly above normal with slightly above normal precipitation. As for our upcoming winter that includes December, January, and February, the temperature and precipitation are expected to remain near the climatological normal. The reason for this outlook is due to the El Niño neutral situation in the equatorial Pacific. In other words, neither La Niña or El Niño are playing into our winter this year. Although our winter is expected to be near normal conditions, let me justify that we could see a few winter storms with adequate snowfall as well as periodic warm episodes. The specific details of when those will occur, as well as where, is left to the short-term forecast. Before the town hauls us to the executioner's block at the end of the winter season, keep in mind that Mother Nature will do what she wants. We can only use tools and patterns we have developed over the decades to explain what could happen. Rely on our short-term forecasts, but have a sense of the long-term forecast as a basic synopsis. Whatever may come, be kind and understanding that we too are only human.
And with us now is Dave Shiley of the U of I Ag Extension Office, Coles County area. And Dave, you're our go-to guy on seminars and other stuff coming up. About last year this time, there was a specialty crop conference. Is that going on again this year?
It is. It's in the first part of January in Springfield, Illinois Specialty Crops Agritourism and Organic Conference.
Okay.
So it's a kind of a combination of all of our specialty growers have, instead of having individual organizations, they all have come together. And
that's good, because sometimes a topic you're not directly involved in is something that you could be interested in.
Exactly. For example, all of them, whether you're growing herbs or fruits or vegetables, all have to have some kind of business plan and risk management plan, and so those are all very similar, and so they can take advantage of each other's resources at this annual conference in January. And it begins on January 9th there and in Springfield, and then continues kind of as a pre-conference, and then the 10th and 11th is the actual conference.
Okay, so what goes on at these conferences? How do people participate?
Well, they can go online and see all the details in terms of conference offerings at www.specialtygrowers.org.
Okay.
And there's a huge variety. There's several different tracks during the actual conference on the 10th and 11th. It's fruits, and one is vegetables, one on herbs, and then one on agritourism.
Okay.
And a lot of these growers, local growers, that if they have sell their fruits, vegetables, or whatever on the farm, have gotten into agritourism.
Yeah.
To get those customers there, one more attraction.
Yeah.
So
If they're driving that way, they're going to buy something, aren't they?
that's right. That's
So,
right.
what are these are you locked into a tract, or can you mix and match?
Yeah, no, you can mix and match different tracks. You don't have to follow one track. They also have about 50 or 60 different vendors there that you can kind of see the wares, you know, see the newest equipment. Very similar to what we do annually with all the commercial agricultural growers, corn and soybean classics that are be coming up in January as well, that you find the tools of the trade.
So you're farming and you're thinking about, I have this patch that is almost like a big garden. Now, wonder if I could grow X for sale. Talk about some of the things they might learn in, say, the vegetable track.
Yeah, the vegetable track, it's a great example. I'll give you an example. A number of years ago, my wife and I thought it'd be a great idea. We had some access to some land to grow peppers. And so I attended a couple of different workshops at this same conference to learn about pepper production.
Okay.
And when I was done, I decided that I probably didn't want to get into pepper production at the time anyway. So it wasn't an easy, a lot of people think, well, I've got the land, I can grow it. So this conference is an excellent opportunity to, maybe not say, oh, I don't want to do that, but they may be the case, but to learn more about what they're getting into.
Now, a lot of specialty especially vegetable and fruit farmers, use high tunnels. Is there any class on any information on that being provided?
There are a couple of workshops related to high tunnel production, and you know, a lot of people still never heard that term, and so if they know what a hoop house is,
right,
that's a high tunnel.
Okay.
But the difference is you're growing in the ground instead
right.
of in a flat,
right,
like we would see in a greenhouse.
Right.
So, but high tunnels is several different workshops on high tunnels, and if you've gotten into that, there are some different management concerns, and that you learn some excellent tips from this conference.
Yeah. Now, the idea of agritourism, you know, just is mind-boggling until you see it taking place. What sort of stuff is going to be covered in that track?
Well, there's going to be some the business side of it, but also, for example, there will be a workshop that you'll learn about those special attractions. That,
okay.
You know, if you're going to have a children's petting zoo or a maze, corn maze.
I love corn mazes.
I know you do.
Please, corn mazes. Okay.
So those kind of things. There's some organization or farms that have gone to bed and breakfast.
Right.
You know, so it's, you know, taking your operation adding one more niche to that.
Right.
Diversifying.
And, you know, and who think that anybody want to come stay at your house? But people do. It's mind-boggling.
Exactly. And there's a lot of people that want to get out on the farm. You know, they want that experience. So
some nice people too. So lots and lots of different things. Where can we find out what classes are being offered? And do you have to go to Springfield to attend?
You do have to go to Springfield to attend, and again, you can just go to www.specialtygrowers.org and view the registration. The registration deadline for the conference is December 28th, so you don't want to wait around. And the hotel reservations, if you're planning to spend the night,
right.
It's the middle of December, so
right.
You know, the
right.
sooner the better.
Okay, so if you can't make it to Springfield, what are some other options if you want to get some information about some of these, especially crop?
Sure. Well, we've got on our University of Illinois Extension website here in Coles County, we have, first of all, a library of past webinars on topics related to small farm production. And so people can go to that, but also then we're beginning another winter series in January on small farm topics, and some of those, for example, on the 17th of January, you can learn about strawberry production.
Oh, excellent.
We're going to talk about raising turkeys on small farms on January 10th. On the 24th, goats and sheep. So we're going to introduce some livestock topics as well.
Excellent. Excellent. So if you have even an inkling that you might be interested in raising something new or different, there's some options for you to check out.
Right, and you can view those in the comfort of your home on those webinars.
Yeah,
so
there you go. So at home with your own coffee and check out the information. So David, a lot of stuff to process, but the thing is, check the webpage and sign up soon, right?
That's right.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Well, this spring we played a music parody, I'm Farming and I Grow It, from the Peterson Brothers of Kansas. It was a big hit. Today I'm proud to announce the Midwest broadcast premiere, I think, of their latest parody video, Farming Style.
Working farmer style. Farmer style. We are the Peterson Farm Bros, and we're farming and we grow it. We love agriculture and we want the world to know it. Farming is a way of life with many different flavors, being stewards of the gifts God gave us. Out here on the farm,
we're running green John Deere tractor.
Out here on the farm,
we work in many weather factors.
Out here on the farm,
we're working hard to raise your food.
Out here on the farm, on the family farm. Agriculture is so important to me and should be to you. Hey! It is the world and will never ever cease to be. We need to eat. We all need farmers to provide us with the food. working farmer style.
Farmer style.
Work, 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 work.
Working farmer style. Farmer style.
Work, 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 work.
Working farmer style.
Hey, for my cattle.
Work, 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 work. Working farmer style.
Hey, from the field.
Work, 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 work.
Hey, 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 hey.
Farmers are working harder than you might imagine, but that is just because we have a job that is our passion. We will work sun up to sundown time and time again, as if working for the Lord and not for men. Out here on the farm,
we get away from lights of cities.
out here on the farm,
The countryside is nice and pretty.
out here on the farm,
We work together as a family.
out here on the farm, on the family farm.
Agriculture is so important to me and should be to you. Hey! In a world and will never ever cease to be. We need to aid. We all need farmers to provide us with our food.
Working farmer style.
Well, that's it for this week. Work hard, be safe, and enjoy the beautiful sunsets. I'm Fred Peralta, and thanks for watching the Four Rivers Ag Report.